Welcome. It is said that in the space just behind our hearts, that is where our soul enters our body, enters our hearts, and that the light of our soul enters there, and that it's been called the seat of the soul, sort of where the soul watches from. And if you turn your attention to this, if you focus on that space just behind your heart, if you do that now, you can actually live life from that space. You can live life and see life and others from that space. And from there, you can actually see all of life, all of the past, the future, all relationships, all events and memories through the eyes of love, through the eyes of your loving soul. And allow yourself to try that out right now. Allow yourself to intend to go into that space behind your heart and be there and look out at life and the world from there and look at and relate to whatever arises for you in your mind and in your emotions and memories. To just love that from there. To love whatever arises in your mind now from that space behind your heart. Whatever thought you have, whatever it is, simply loving it and letting it go, and loving the next and letting it go until perhaps things cease to arise, so that all you are is love. Loving everything that arises, seeing any memory, thought, relationship, feeling, desire, distraction that arises as just like a musical note on the music sheet, and loving it and letting it pass, and being aware of and enjoying and appreciating the space between the notes, where there are no distractions, where there are no things, where there is just love. And as any thought or memory or idea or belief or feeling arises, just love it. Just love it, whatever it is, whatever memory, whatever pain, whatever worry, whatever fear, just love it and let it pass. And return to that expansive space of love between those notes. And this is really a very wonderful and wise and conscious state of being to cultivate, to develop, to practice, to nurture, to evolve. And as John Jones, our wonderful spiritual teacher, has taught us, that it is a yoga in itself to practice living life from that space, from our soul. And you might wonder, well, how can I love everything? How can I love the pain? How can I love the trauma? How can I love the hurts? How can I love the failures? How can I love the terrible things that seem to have happened or might be happening in the future? And what about the people that did these bad things? And how can I love all of that? How can I love the pollution of the earth right now? And how can I love these seemingly terrible and painful and controversial things? And to answer that question, which is an excellent question, I would offer a truth. not the typical type of truth that people usually talk about. More of a truth as not a black and white truth. That's a guide that points to something deeper, something profound. And that truth, and Alessandrina and I, for the sort of learning path or quest that we're developing for all of our clients to go through to, in a specific order, to learn a whole lot and to be guided and facilitated to in their evolutionary process. Alessandrina and I are going to create a list of truths for that course, for that program, for that path. And one of those truths is this one. It's that wherever you are now, and however things are for you, and whoever you are now, is just fine. And good, even. And that from where you are now, you can go to great places. And you can be great and experience greatness and love and inner peace and connection to spirit and God and your heart and other people's hearts. And you can create wonderful things wherever you are now, from this day forward, from this moment forward. And therefore, everything that has brought you here, every experience, every memory, every trauma, every hurt, every interaction, because all of those combined have brought you to this very place right now. And this place is a good place now. Your future can be wonderful and bright, and therefore this is a great place because you're on a path where there are many options for wonder and greatness and service to God and humanity and to your highest and best good. So because you are here, and because where you are is a good place, and because everything that has happened in your past has brought you here, then everything can be seen as ultimately good, ultimately helpful, ultimately having served you to get to the wonderful place, the great place, the excellent place, the opportune place, the auspicious place where you are now. So when put into a little sentence, the truth might be something like, where you are now is good, and everything that has brought you here, therefore, is good. And that sort of leaves the sort of question, where do we want to go from here? And truly, when you see your past this way, when you see your present this way, as good, as okay, as fine, as opportunistic, as full of potential, then that definitely changes where you go. Because if you see your past as full of problems and pains and traumas and hurts, and your present as not being good enough or wrong or missing something or lacking, then that too is going to affect where you go. And typically it will lead to us experiencing more of the pain, more of the trauma, more of the hurt, more of the lack, because by viewing our past that way, by viewing our present that way, we carry that with us. And we end up attracting more of that. And so by recognizing this truth, by realizing it fundamentally, completely, in all parts of ourselves, at all times, and by gradually releasing any parts of us that don't resonate with this truth, by doing that, we can actually find peace in the present and become wonderfully creative going forward and manifest the very best, what is in our highest and best good, and live life through the brightest light and love of our soul. everywhere, wherever you are is good. And everything that has happened to bring you here is good. Now, what great place do you want to go to? What do you want? I hope that the subtleties of this teaching, that you've picked up on some of them. There are subtleties in the things Alessandrina and I teach, and if you look for them, you will find them. They're not meant to be, they're not just these big ideas and that don't have depth. If you really apply these things, you will find tremendous depth. And we try to break things down into simple forms and into the basics, because the basics empower us to go the furthest. And oftentimes we might say, oh, well, I already know that. And we might actually be doing it rather incompletely. And because we're not prioritizing the teaching and we're discarding it, saying, we already know that. Because we're doing that, then we're not actually giving ourselves the chance to look at it again and to reevaluate and see, well, wait a minute, which ways am I actually subconsciously not doing that without realizing it? And if we ask that question, we can go deeper. We can apply it more fully and enjoy all the benefits of that, of applying it not just in the 5% of our conscious mind, that said deeper into the 95% of the subconscious mind, into those parts of us that we don't even realize are operating in the ways they're operating, and limiting us in the ways they're limiting us, and causing our suffering in the ways that they're causing our suffering. So the deeper, it's beautiful, because the deeper you look into these teachings, the more you will discover and the more benefit you will experience. I hope this has been a helpful video. Please leave your feedback and your comments and questions and anything.